Hey guys, I'm Ben.
And I am Tommy.
And we are talking board games.
Yes, and today we're talking about one that is making me tired just thinking about it.
That is a very accurate statement.
I can lift this up, it's so heavy. There you go.
It's not that heavy.
Well, the game is pretty heavy. The box itself is not heavy.
Yeah. No, the game is. Kickstarters. Some Kickstarters.
Why don't? How about before we start talking about it? Why don't we go and do some rules?
Do the rules?
Yeah.
You really don't. You don't want to explain the theme, nothing.
Nope.
Just straight to the rules.
Let's go straight to the rules.
The rules it is. Follow us.
Yeah, we're just kidding.
No,
that's not happening.
Not happening. No rules.
Not even. Not even close.
We don't get paid enough for that.
I do want to do a brief overview of what this game is about. There's just way too much to go into rules, but this is during the game you've got a hand of 11 cards, and you'll choose 4 of them to activate for that round. And then what'll happen is you'll play those in turn order, and you're just trying to control these different factions. Guilds on the side of the board, and then trying to spread your influence over the region and create feudums or not create feudums and score as many points as you can by doing various different things. It's way too hard to explain, and if you want to find a rules explanation somewhere,
there are videos out there.
There are videos. We are not going to be one of them.
No.
It's just a little too much.
We will save your time and ours.
To put it into perspective, when I taught this game to you and to Alex, it took an hour. That's not an exaggeration.
With questions unanswered and ambiguities as to what strategy
still
and
things
steps should be.
Exactly.
That was just enough to start the game.
But that going off of that, this is a very sandboxy game. There's really not much. I can't just be like start with a farmer worker.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong when it comes to.
I thought that I had a really good strategy going into this, and it ended up not paying off for me. Now, I did really well, I feel, but that's the look of somebody who never wins.
I won this game. What?
And I had already played it before.
And you had played it before.
But I think that says something about the game. That it's heavy. Yes, there's a lot going on, but it's not... There's enough to the game where you could still win without having played the game before. I think there's enough of that. Maybe it was just a fluke.
You're calling my victory a fluke?
I have to.
I worked hard for that victory.
No, I have to.
You have a reputation to maintain.
That's right.
No,
I was really tired that day. I had a headache.
Yeah.
Hard day at work.
So the origin of this game, it was a Kickstarter game. And it got a lot of support. I don't want to blame it solely on the artwork,
but I think that had a lot to do with it. This reminds me a lot of Adventure Time.
And the appeal of this game was, I feel a lot of people were surprised, both at A, how heavy it was, and B, how maybe difficult to grasp it was.
Sure.
I feel like looking at the Kickstarter, a lot of people were hoping for something that was going to be
fun,
a nice whimsical take on a Euro game type thing.
This is not that.
No, not that at all. No.
This is really, and I don't want to say it's mean. I think there's actually a good amount of conflict in this, and it's not forced conflict necessarily.
That's a good way of putting it. It's not forced conflict.
But it can be beneficial to players, and it's not hurtful in the way that your whole game is now officially ruined because somebody attacked you. Plus, fighting in this game is not easy, right? As the attacker, you're already at a disadvantage because attackers have +1 attack and defenders have +2 defense. There are opportune moments when you can attack when someone's drunk, and that's your okay, here's my window. But still, Saltpeter is +1 to defense and +1 to attack, or +1 to attack I think only. Then you have your weapons, which also give you...
Which you may or may not.
And that's a risk that you're going to have to take. But then there's also the defense card. And if somebody sees the attack coming, they can be prepared for you and even bring in more pawns to defend.
No, it's an interesting game. So playing the game, The closest thing I can compare this to, there's not many games that are out there that are like this.
Right.
But the closest thing that I can compare it to as far as how I felt while playing it's probably more along the lines of a Vital Lacerda game.
Okay.
In that there is so much going on.
And that might be why I like it so much.
I think it is, because there are all these little intricate cogs that mesh together that create this larger functioning game. And it does it pretty well.
Well, and this is the biggest criticism that a lot of people are giving it, is that it's so fiddly. It's overly fiddly. And I will agree. This game is fiddly. But it's fiddly so much so that it works. Mm-hmm. You know? This is for this, to push that, and pulling this, and then using it for this. And that, if there's not enough here, then I can't take this action.
That's like Lisboa.
Yeah.
You described Lisboa right there. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
You need the cubes to do this, but you need the people to do this. And once you have the cubes here, they'll do this. But before you have to have the resources here to do this. And in order to do that, you need the card to do that.
Right.
Like, that's Lisboa. That's the Gallerist. That's Kanban.
Right.
That is a Vital Lacerda design.
You make a good point. I don't think this is as smooth as a Vital Lacerda game.
No, and it's probably given the fact that Vital's an experienced professional, produced lots of games, designed lots of games. Whereas this is,
Mark
Oddbird.
Swanson.
Who's Oddbird Games?
I'll give it to Mark Swanson. I think he did.
Design.
If this is his first game, which it might not be, I don't know.
But it's a name that I'll be looking out for.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. I think I finished my 2-player game with McKenna because usually when I teach a game, I want to make sure that I've ironed out all the kinks and that I can know how to teach. Terrible, absolute horrific game. This should not say 2 to 5. This should say something like 3 to 6, or maybe even 4 to 6, because this game is one of those rare cases where the more players you have, the better the game is.
Because of the interaction.
Because of the interaction that is necessary for the game to progress. Because
it's all those little cogs. You need those to be clicking and moving together and functioning.
But it doesn't do it by itself. The game does not operate by itself. The players make the game move.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting about this game. It's got that interaction that a lot of games don't have, especially when it comes to Euro games. And by controlling these different parts of the game, you can really screw other people over from not being able. Yeah. And it's interesting how it works. I really like this game, but I will never play this game probably to people who don't know how to play. I don't think I will play this game with people who don't know how to play. Just because it's literally an hour to explain the rules.
Well, and like you just said, that crippling, they control one thing can affect you. Not because they're doing it on purpose, but because they just don't know how to make that.
But I like that aspect of it.
But you mean like if you're playing with a new player,
right?
And they control the farm guild, and they just never move resources over. Now there's never anything in the shop.
Well, that's how it was for our game.
But I was doing that on purpose.
Right, I know.
But if a player was not doing that and they didn't know what to do, and it's like, okay, this would really benefit you to do it, but you're not going to do it because you don't know that it's valuable, and so everyone else is having a poor experience. Like, you're being punished for someone's ignorance almost.
Right, yeah.
Which
no, I could see that.
Or it's like there's no airships available, and I really need an airship because the person who controls it isn't doing their job in making that available. Not because they're preventing me from getting it, but because they just don't see the value in doing it. They aren't making it.
The more I think about this game, the more I like it. And this again, I will never play this game 2 players.
Nor 3, probably.
Probably never 3 players, and I don't think I'll ever play this game with anybody new. Maybe if there's one person or 2 people
3 other people who've played it. So options are limited if you're looking to play future 4-player games.
Right, and most of the players that I played it with didn't really like it that much. But I think this game gets better with more plays. I think if you were to play this game again, you'd probably enjoy it quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Now, the reason this doesn't work with 2 players, like we said, is the whole moving thing, moving pieces around and whatnot. But with 2 players, only you and that one other person are making the game move, and you can't spread out far enough to do that. You don't have enough actions for that to happen. When you start introducing more people are affecting different parts of the board, and they're doing these actions to not only benefit themselves, but to, produce more resources and to get things out on the board. And it's really interesting how it works. It's really, really cool. And I understand where a lot of the hate is coming from, but I don't know why more people don't like this game, and I think it's probably because of the rules. I think it's probably because of the what-if scenarios and the...
Well, when we do the unboxing, the rulebook's not huge.
It's not. It actually took me a pretty short time to get through.
That's the thing. Like, I could see myself reading that rulebook in 20 minutes, but I was taught the game in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't add up.
It doesn't. It's... And I keep going over in my head, how can I explain this game better so that I can make it quicker? But you have to explain the cards. You have to explain the guilds. And that is the majority of the...
Well, you're not drip-fed anything. Everything is there from turn 1.
Right.
You have all 11 cards available to you.
That's what it is.
You have all 6 guilds activating and being interactive and producing and affecting each other. You have everything on the board that's going to be there for the rest of the game,
right,
except the Feudums, but you need to know those because that's on one of your cards. Like, there is nothing that's introduced as the game goes.
Right.
You can't say, well, we'll talk about that when it comes up. Because anything...
Well, I want to do this first turn. I need to know what this is.
It's almost doable.
Yeah.
So that might be why...
That's a really good point,
actually. Teach is a very
actually.
long
That's a good point.
task.
That's a good point. Now, I've already said that I really like this game, and I think it might move up for me. But again, it's a hard game to get to the table. How do you feel about this game?
So, we finished the game late. I got home late.
You did.
I got to bed late.
You did.
I did not sleep good that night. Why? Because every time I closed my eyes, I was thinking about collecting different sets of territories. I was thinking, this game just ruined my night's sleep. But it wasn't like games in the past when this has happened where it's like, oh, my head, like it just hurts. It was like a rewarding like puzzle that I was trying to solve, as I was semi-conscious trying to fall asleep. And that to me was a good sign. Like, I didn't hate thinking about it and feeling like I needed to solve it. And like, it was a good puzzle in that aspect.
Right.
Which kind of made me think more highly of the game. But what it all comes down to is it's a long game.
Right.
It's a long, involved, it's going to make you not want to play anything else the evening you play it type game.
No, and it's really, it's a one and done kind of night.
And
you play this and you're done.
That's it. That's the evening.
Yeah.
And if I'm have an evening where that type of situation is presented to me, I have other games I'd rather play.
Sure.
I'd rather play Through the Ages. That's one I think is a better game at a smaller player count. 2-player, I'd rather play Twilight Struggle. There's just games that I feel that I enjoy more to where I probably would never choose this over them. Whereas if it was a 30-minute game, it's nice to have variety in that time. So, rather than, I'm not going to have 1 or 2 30-minute games I want to play all the time. With those type of games, there's more options as to when that would be played and in what circumstances. But this one, the circumstances to be played in, and then the time that it would take to play it wouldn't make it to the table.
Speaking of time, because this is a big thing that people are going to complain about. This box says 80 to 180, so that's an hour 20 to 3 hours. That should just say 90 to 180. Come on. But the majority of this game is rules explanation, I will say. That's not true. Playing takes up a large portion of the game, of the time. But the rules explanation compared to the gameplay, it outweighs almost anything else.
Yeah.
It's literally a third of the game. Maybe a quarter, depending on how long the game goes. But what is interesting about this game, the first 1 or 2 epics, whatever you want to call them, the first 1 or 2 are relatively long. Maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
You have it cross your mind, is this game ever going to end?
Right. That's but as you approach the end, the game just starts to clip along and move and it starts chugging.
That's when all the points, you're really being rewarded for stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it's a good design. I enjoyed how it was designed and stuff. But when the game was an hour and the play was almost 3 hours, it's hard to...
And that's why I would only want to play this with...
people you've played it with before.
Because I think that you could easily knock this game out in an hour and a half. I really do.
With 4 or 5 people?
I really do, because I think that the game moves faster with more people. your turns are quick enough that when you're building feudums, when you're doing all these things, this game was so long as a 2-player game. This was a longer game, 2 players, than it was with 4 players. And the reason behind that was because...
You said it took you 2.5 to 3 hours to play it 2 players. It took us 2.5 to 3 hours to play it.
4 players, though.
4 players, yeah.
4 players, and we had 2 people that were learning the game.
The 2 people who already knew the game.
Right. So I think that's a pretty good... I think that with people who have played the game, given the right circumstances, I think that you could knock this game out in an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, because as you're playing, as you're building more and as you're upgrading your towns and your outposts and stuff, you're removing more and more things, and I think it becomes more and more.
You are, but my 2 arguments to that is going to be you're simultaneously picking these 4 cards.
Right.
More people, there's more things to take in consideration as you're picking your
Sure.
cards. You're now looking at 1 extra player, 2 extra players, saying, what are they going to be doing? Am I going to get to do what I want to do? So there's that. And then you're still having every player take 4 or 5 actions that round.
Yeah.
So in a game that maybe took 20 rounds and everyone played 4 cards, now you have 20 rounds and then you have 5 players playing 4 cards. So you're only adding actions to the game. The stuff might get eaten up quicker, you're right. But the amount of actions that it's going to take to do that... But I think
that's why it's going to go quicker, is because you're going through the game. You know, the first few turns, we were just relying on the die to remove stuff from the round.
But having 5 people wouldn't change that. You're still going to... There's very little you can do at the beginning of the game.
I don't think that's true. I think you have different people going different strategies, and you have people that are able... Because more people are moving things around.
But now you're competing for more things. So it's
Let us
harder
know
to
in
get
the
what
comments what you think. I don't know. It'd be interesting to put it to the test. Let's do it. Let's do a speed game of Feudum.
If you could get the other 2 people to agree to play again, which I highly doubt.
But if you could play this game in an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This would be.
I feel like there was stuff that could have been trimmed out that would have made it doable.
I'm interested. I'm interested. What? Huh? What do you think?
I don't feel like each guild needed a push and pull action. If there was just a push action.
Then what does the journeyman do?
Huh? You don't need a journeyman. You have a master, and the journeyman is the apprentice type.
But then there's only one person that's making the board move.
We'll just have that same person do a push action, but to a lesser degree. Instead of worrying about... Not everything would be connected one direction instead
of both directions.
Both directions type thing. I don't feel you would lose... If you could save an hour of gameplay and 30 minutes of rules explanation...
I think that's
worth it.
That's a pretty big thing to take out.
There's not a lot smaller than that, unfortunately.
No, there's not, and I hear a lot of people saying that a lot of fat could have been trimmed from this, and I'm interested to see where people think that it could have been.
Well, some of the guild actions are like mini puzzles, which.
But it's moving these resources from here to there so that this thing can be created.
The mini puzzle adds just more, like when you're moving the goods from the farmer to the merchant. You're trying to puzzle together, okay, if I move these 2 there, then that'll score me 1 row, and that will score me another row. But then I'm making something that he wants to buy readily available, so I better not do that. But I want to get those 6... Where it's just like, move 5 things over. Like that mini puzzle, or where you're taking the 2 tokens and shaking them up and pick one.
Yeah, that part's a little weird. I don't know if I like that one.
Or where you're moving from the merchant to the alchemist, and you're trying to fill these things in to score the most... Like... That just makes people think more. It makes it fiddlier. It's like you're responsible for moving stuff over. You move it, you get your points. Don't make them play this little optimization game of where they're going to move things, which ones are going to move, which ones are you going to pull out to make which thing, the airship available. You're going to give people, 1 crud, 2 crud, how am I going to piece together that in the best? Those little mini puzzles is like,
there are probably maybe 1 too many resources with the targets. I don't think those are really necessary.
That was something, but I'm cutting that out wouldn't shorten the game.
No, it wouldn't. It's just, but I do think that there's a lot going on. Again, I really enjoyed this game. I wouldn't mind playing this with the right group again. Yeah. But I wouldn't want to go through a 1-hour rules explanation. That was when I went through with McKenna, I was like, gosh, dang. I thought maybe I could cut it down for you guys, and it didn't happen.
It just has to happen.
It's
not a game I'm going to seek out opportunities to play.
I will say this. I think that this game is going to be much better with expansion content.
I can see.
There's an extra player.
You want an extra player?
I would not mind an extra player.
Now you go from 80 to 180. It's going to be 80 to 220.
Nah, it'll probably be only an hour with 6 people. But it adds a 6th player. It also adds a different cards. Some action cards that you play actually take up spots in your hand. So you play this action card and it gives you this benefit like throughout the game or whatever. But now you can only play 3 cards.
The game is complicated enough as it is. Anything that would make it more complicated, I would discourage. But after playing the game, I could see how it would feel samey fairly quickly.
Yeah, especially since because of the cards, you're able to go through them so quickly that it would you're just hunting for cards.
And the rest of the game is just the interaction.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which would be pretty similar.
Now, like I said, I'm not going to hunt out an opportunity to play it, but if you were to approach me and say, I've got 3 people who know what they're doing, would you like to play a game? I would really like to. I say, sure, I'll play with you.
Sure.
Like, because it's an enjoyable experience. It was. I don't regret playing it, but like I said,
there are other games you'd rather play.
There are other things I'd rather play with that time commitment.
Right. Fair enough. Well, that is Feudum. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go check out our other videos.
And by the way, swing by and check out our Choose Your Own Adventure review adventure. It is our Lorenzo Magnifico review. Tell us what you think about that format. It's something we're playing with, maybe adapting to and incorporating.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, let us know.
If it doesn't work, it was a fun experiment.
Yeah, we enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah, but
hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for being a part of this, guys. We really enjoy doing this, and hopefully we can keep doing this and bringing you guys these videos.
See ya.
See ya.